Parsha Beshalach. Beshalach means in sending. Let's talk to our Elohim, and then we'll take a look at what it means for us to be sent by Pharaoh. Well, Father, we thank you for this time together. We ask that you will help us and open our eyes, open our ears, and open our hearts so that we can see, hear, and understand what your word tells us, so that we grow closer to you, so that we find ourselves within you and feel your embrace. We thank you for it in the name of Yahushua. Amen. All right, so we got this all these pages in this handout saying, my goodness, he's going back to the olden days. But there's a lot of important wisdom for us to grasp within that song at Shemot 15:1. There's a reason that it's there, and there's a reason that we see a lot of things that usually we just kind of browse over because it's, it's boring. We don't want to read about it. We don't want to read genealogies and stuff like that. Before we look at that, I want to just pull two short little things out of the very beginning of this Torah portion. The Torah portion begins at Shemot 13:17, but 13:17 starts off with this phrase in Hebrew, Veyehi beshelach Pharaoh et ha'am. Okay? And we read it in English, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go. But literally what we read in that is that it was that Pharaoh sent away the people. Okay? He didn't let the people go, he sent them away. And we read that Moses tells them, you're not just going to let us go, you're going to boot us out of here. You're going to kick us out of here. You're going to expel us. And the word that's used for expel is kind of like shooting something out of a cannon. Okay? But let's consider this from a different point of view, that Pharaoh for us, if it is a representation of the ego, having an ego is not necessarily a bad thing. We cannot exist without that part of us, that physical carnal side of us. Otherwise we'd all just be jellyfish that had no spine, and we'd bow down to everything and everybody. So, but when Pharaoh, if we look at this, when Pharaoh unites himself with the Aleph and the Tav in order to remove Ha'am, in order to remove darkness, the dim perception that he has, well, when he allows truth to open his eyes, this is when we see this very first word really come into effect, that it's the beginning of existence for the human being. Beshalach, and Pharaoh sent out, is when we remove those darkened perceptions. What do we need in order to remove them? Well, we look at the verse 19. I want to say verse 3, but it's kind of, it starts in the middle of a chapter. It says, and Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had made the children of Israel promise, saying, Elohim will surely remember you and shall carry up my bones away from here with you. So we read this as a story, and we say, okay, well, he took the bones of Joseph and they put him in a box and they carried him away. All right, so if we as Pharaoh have booted out our dark perceptions because we are aligning ourselves to the word of Elohim, then as we begin to leave Egypt, we have to carry with us. It says the bones of Joseph, which is atzot. Atzmot is the word for bones, but atzmot also means the essence and the substance of Yosef. So when we leave Egypt, what are we carrying with us? If we've let go of the darker, dim perception, we're clinging to Elohim. if we carry with us the substance and the essence of Yosef, in other words, we're carrying with us the idea that it is Yahuwah who provides for us in leaving Egypt, okay? And if we'll hold on to those thoughts, we'll come over to the handout, and everybody's saying, finally, he's getting to the handout. We'll be here all night with these 6 pages. Started off as 3, honest. But then, well, I got to put that in there. Trina told me to stop putting that in there. Anyway, so Parsha Beshalach, a consideration of chapter 15 of Shemot. So they've gone through the Red Sea. Pharaoh's been wiped out. They're all happy. They're all overjoyed. And we start in Beshalach. We consider the opening of the door that will equip the children of Israel to be sent away from Egypt and begin the move towards the Promised Land. There is something interesting in 13:17 that we have to be aware of. That when we let go of those dark or dim perceptions, we don't immediately go towards the land of the Philistines. We go around the land of the Philistines. We're overjoyed, we're happy, and everything else, and things don't immediately go sour with us. But when things go sour, it says, lest perhaps the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. How long do we let go of the dark or dim perceptions that we have sent away? Well, Elohim says, I'm going to take them round about a long place by way of the wilderness. Wilderness is usually a place of growth. It's a place of transition when we read about it in Torah most of the time. But he doesn't lead us directly into conflict again, because that's where we would go. But if we are listening to our Elohim, then we move away from conflict until conflict happens to show up. And then when we see war, it says, lest they see war and they return to Egypt. When we see war, when we see milchama, which also means something that overcomes us, we want to go back to being in bondage. So what I'm getting at here is, how often do we step away from our relationship with our Elohim? And that's going to be a very important question to hold on to when we take a look at this particular handout and this song. So they've just come through the Red Sea. They're overjoyed, they're happy, they're going to sing a song, and they're going to praise Yahuwah Elohim. I've gotten through bondage, I've gotten through a difficulty, and I'm praising Elohim. And Tuesday we'll discuss what happens immediately after they finish praising Elohim when they get to Mara. But anyway, so we start with this word Beshalach that means in the sending. So we can imagine that having crossed the Red Sea, that the children of Israel are overjoyed and very relieved to have escaped being slaughtered by the army of Pharaoh. They were griping at Moses, saying, "Oh, you've led us out of Egypt to have us killed here in the desert." So, having crossed through the midst of the waters that were parted by Yahuwah, they stop and rejoice in song. And the song that we're going to look into holds a lot of wisdom and insight for us as we begin to move into the wilderness. So we start with Shemot chapter 15, verse 1. Exodus 15:1 says, "Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song to Yahuwah, and spoke, saying, I will sing to Yahuwah, for he is highly exalted. The horse and his rider has he thrown into the sea." All right, so they're all excited. They're praising Elohim. They're praising Yahuwah. And they're all excited because Pharaoh and his army are drowned. So let's begin with the phrase, "Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song to Yahuwah, and spoke, saying." So the first word that we come to is az. Az can denote both a period of time as well as a point in space. In other words, it can mean a time or a place. So we consider from this word that what we're about to read will affect us at every time and in every place. Remember, we're reading events in the Torah, but how do we apply these events in our daily understanding? So this song will be sung in recognition of Yahuwah Elohim, so we can consider the first word to represent for us our awareness of Yahuwah in every aspect of our lives and at every moment in which we exist. So we have this word, az, which in the verse it's used for then, a period of time. Okay? So we see in that word our relationship with our Elohim and our awareness in every aspect of our lives at every moment of our lives. With that in mind, let's continue to the next word. The word used for sang and for song is yashir, that comes from the root shur, that means to travel or to take a journey. So adding this into our concept, we can now consider that this awareness is something that is in motion as we move through our existence in our journey through life. Think about that for a minute. Our relationship with our Elohim at every moment, in every situation, is something that is in perpetual motion. Okay? We're traveling. We're constantly traveling through our experience with our Elohim. All right? So next we consider the word used for spoke and the word used for saying, which in this case is vayomeru lemor. They're used consecutively here. Why not use Vedabar lemor or Vayomeru debar? Why use the same word twice? This word used for saying is, I am speaking directly to you. Okay? Whereas debar would mean something that I've said that is giving you, maybe being spoken to you by someone else. Here, it's being spoken direct. So first we have to take into consideration that the same word is used 2 times consecutively. Okay? We know from the Torah that any cause must be decided by 2 witnesses for it to be considered true. So something about this is a truth. Okay? Next, the root emor, aside from meaning to speak, also denotes something spoken from the heart. And if we consider the Torah, whose first and last letters spell leb, meaning heart, to be the Torah of Yahuwah Elohim, then we have to consider an idea of the truth as it is found in the Torah. So we also have to consider the prefixes in these things. And we have the prefixes of vi and the letter lamed in a prefix, which means 2. Okay? If we look at the prefix vi and we break it down into the letter components, we can consider the truth, power, and the ability of Yahuwah as it pertains to humankind. So something in this song, in the very beginning of this song, pertains to the relationship between Yahuwah Elohim and humankind. Something pertains between us and our Elohim. Okay? And then we have this prefix lamed, that we can consider the instruction that comes from the Torah, which is the word of Yahuwah, our Elohim. So something in this verse is going to reflect on our relationship with our Elohim and how we perceive and receive guidance and instruction, and whether or not we listen or don't listen. We have to be clear on exactly what the Ruach HaKodesh is. You know, we've said Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit, we want to call it the third person of a Trinity and all this other stuff. The Ruach HaKodesh is the Spirit of Yahuwah Elohim. No third person about it. It is Yahuwah Elohim who is speaking to us. The Ruach HaKodesh is the direct line of communication between the Adam and Elohim that was restored upon the death of Yahusha. Prior to that, we have Malachim, we have messengers of Yahuwah that show up and say, hey, the boss upstairs isn't very happy with you. But now we have a direct line where Yahuwah speaks to us directly. And this was made possible by what Yahusha accomplished in restoring the 2 kingdoms. So, from the first phrase, we can formulate an idea. Our awareness of Yahuwah Elohim in every aspect of our lives and at every moment in which we exist is an awareness that is in motion as we move through our existence in the journey of life. In this journey, we find the truth as it is found in the Torah, which is the truth, power, and the ability of Yahuwah as it pertains to humankind, and the instruction that comes from the Torah, which is the word of Yahuwah, our Elohim. The Torah was not written for Martians. It wasn't written for aliens from some galaxy off of Star Trek. The Torah was written for us. Okay? It is an instruction book for us on how to get along with our Elohim, how to get involved and build a relationship with our Elohim, and how to get along with one another. Okay? Everything within that book is true. We make it untrue because we fabricate dogma to make it say what we want it to say, as opposed to listening to what it actually says, even though it's difficult for us to handle that. So anyway, if we consider the two words that are found consecutively to represent the idea of witness, then we can also consider the concept that we have just explored to be our testimony, as well as within Beit, which is the second letter of the Aleph Beit that means house. So within the house of Elohim, if we believe and receive his word and are restored as his children. Where do we read that? We read that in Brit Hadashah, in the very first chapter of Yochanan, that if we accept the word, we accept the name in which the word is given, then we believe and receive that word. We are given the authority to become the children of Elohim, but it's much more important, much bigger than simply Bnei HaElohim. Being a child of Elohim is no big deal. And everybody's saying, oh, I can't believe you said that. We're all created in the image and likeness of Elohim. The atheist is created in the image and likeness of Elohim. But not everyone is Banach HaElohim. Not everyone is the restored of Elohim. And that is the big thing. When I believe and receive the word, and I follow in the footsteps of that truth on my journey through life, I follow as a restored being. Okay? Yahusha said that you have to be born again. And my best Southern Baptist preacher, you have to go back to the beginning. You have to be what Adam was in the garden prior to the transgression becoming sin. Okay? So my goal in Torah is to go back to that restored state of being. Okay? And again, the children of Israel, we say Bnei HaElohim, the children of Israel, but what if we use the root of Bnei Bana and say Banach HaElohim? Then we are the restored of Israel. We are the restored prince of Elohim. Okay? We were never meant to be booted out of the house. But when we believe and receive the word, we are restored back into the house as not only a child of Elohim, but the restored prince of Elohim within that household. Okay. So anyway, well, I've gotten way off track. So we can thus consider that we sing to Yahuwah, for he is highly exalted. Then we become conscious and aware of the presence of Yahuwah, our Elohim, in our lives. We exalt him as we recognize our reliance of a good relationship with our Elohim, whose name is Yahuwah. I simply long for your embrace. Now we are one. This is what that song said. Do I long for that embrace? Do I long to be within the presence of my Elohim? And if I long for that, am I conscious of his presence? Am I aware of his presence throughout my day? I'm here in your presence, Yahuwah. Okay? If we say, I'm here in your presence, Yahuwah, then I'm saying I'm here in your presence in every aspect of my existence, at every moment of my existence. Are we? No, because we can never really allow Pharaoh to push away the darker, dim perception. And this is what we'll see happening over and over throughout Shelach. We come tomorrow, they complain about not having water, not recognizing that Elohim can provide it. They come to, they get hungry. Elohim provides manna. But he's not providing enough manna, so I grab enough so I can gorge myself, and all the extra that I grab rots away. Okay? I'm never satisfied with what Elohim provides. I always want more. Okay? But anyway, we'll talk about that Tuesday. I'm getting way ahead of myself. Well, we've already gotten into Tuesday's lessons. Grooviness has been achieved. No. Okay. All right. So, let's move on. We again have a word used twice in a row in the phrase for highly exalted. This is ki goa ga'a. Sounds cool. Ki goa ga'a. Like something a 2-year-old would say. Anyway, first, the word ki means truthfully or certainly. So what we consider is that the next two words is considered a certainty as truth. What we're about to hear in goa ga'a is truth. Okay? The next two words come from the root ga'a, meaning to lift up, as well as to be lifted up. The truth in this is that as sure as we exalt and lift up our Elohim, he will lift us up. And as we will see in these two words consecutively, we consider that this relationship also becomes a part of our testimony and our witness to everyone around us. If I am in a relationship with my Elohim and I lift up my Elohim and I walk according to his word, he lifts me up, that is a testimony, because people look at him and they say, he's never down. He never freaks out, wigs out, and stresses out about stuff, because he knows it's going to be okay. I want to be like that. How do you do that? And then you just say, well, listen here. I have a relationship with Yahuwah Elohim who embraces me and moves me through my life and my existence by taking care of my needs, and I have a direct line of communication. So, the relationship becomes part of our testimony and our witness to everyone around us. In doing so, the horse and his rider has he thrown into the sea. Great, so Pharaoh and his army are destroyed. We overcome the fear that we face in our lives. The word used for horse is sus, but comes from the roots parash, that means to separate, to pierce, and to scatter. Those things that cause us to become separated from our Elohim become clearly known to us. How do you know when you're not in a relationship with Yahuwah Elohim? It must be hard to keep up with it. No, I have an instruction book. All I have to do is go follow the instructions and I can have this relationship. And then the horse is removed. My being separated from my Elohim is removed. Okay? Those things that cause us to become separated from our Elohim become clearly known to us. The word for and rider is verochevo, that means to ride upon or to carry, as well as to cause to draw forth, as in to plow a field. So the idea that we can be carried by those things that separate us from our relationship with Yahuwah Elohim and that cause us to plant seeds in an alien field, one that is not in alignment with the word of Yahuwah Elohim, are also cast into the sea. If I know what the rules are to the house, then I know how to follow those rules, and because I know how to follow those rules, I'm never in a state of separation, and I'm never in a state of planting seeds in the wrong places. Okay? I have a rule in my house. My lovely little grandson, he knows that if Papa is anywhere close by, I had better not scream at the top of my lungs. He knows that. Because if I scream at the top of my lungs and Papa just happens to hear me, then I'm going to be in a state of separation from the rest of the family with my nose against the wall. It's the same thing. Okay? If I don't follow the rules in the house as his child, then the father is going to separate me until I can make teshuvah, and say, I'm sorry, Papa, I won't scream anymore, and I'll follow the rules of the house. Okay? We're all little children. Okay? Alright, there we go. So it's cast into the sea, Bayam. From an ancient perspective, it was something that was feared as unknown. From this we can consider that those things that lead us away from our Elohim are cast off, taking with them any fears of the unknown that we may have fabricated in the state of separation. If I'm in a state of separation, I build my own dogma. Dogma is a word that means teaching that cannot be substantiated. I cannot prove it. We have a lot of dogma in the church. We have a lot of dogma in Judaism. You know, we can't line it up with the Torah. And if it doesn't line up with the Torah, and it doesn't line up with the prophets, then it doesn't line up with the writings, and it's not confirmed in Brit Hadashah, then we need to discard it. Okay? So, here we go. State of separation. We consider this idea from a point of view of the children of Israel, who've just witnessed the power of Yahuwah, their Elohim, burying the thing they feared the most and the anxiety of what it was bringing. The army of Pharaoh was totally destroyed by the waters. They were freaking out, wigging out, and stressing out there because they were at the Sea of Reeds. It wasn't opening up. Nothing was happening. Pharaoh was about to kill them all in the desert. Until they had to believe and start moving forward. All right, so in this we can consider the concept of the word and the instruction of Yahuwah Elohim. The flowing waters can and will overcome those things that we fear if we will turn to Yahuwah our Elohim and to his guidance as found within the pages of his word. It is in this that we truly receive Yahusha, the redemption, deliverance, and restoration of Yahuwah, the mighty presence in our lives, who has the power and authority to do so. Okay? We say Elohim, and we spit Elohim off just like we spit a lot of other words. We spit off the word bondage and captivity, and we really never quite think about that. But when we think of Elohim, think about this mighty presence that is there for your benefit to redeem you, to buy you back from the slavery that we sell ourselves into, to deliver us from that, to restore us so that we can go right back and sell ourselves back into slavery and have to be redeemed, delivered, and restored. Okay? Remember, this word salvation, I'm never really saved from anything. I can be restored or I can not be restored. I can be redeemed or I can not be redeemed. I have the choice. But that choice is I can either have a relationship with my Elohim that keeps me in a restored state of being, or I can have a relationship with the serpent and fall to the enticements of the Satan, which keep me in a separated state of being. Okay. So if we understand all this, then verses 2 through 5 are going to make perfect sense and confirms what we've just considered. Yahuwah is my strength and song. He has become my deliverance. This is my Elohim, and I will honor him. My father's Elohim, and I will exalt him. So the verse gives us insight as to the effect of Yahuwah's presence on our being. I can say I believe that Yahuwah Elohim exists, but until I feel that presence, I really don't have a true relationship. Okay? So, the insight as to the effect of Yahuwah's presence on our being. Consider the word used for my strength, which in this case is azi, that comes from the root azaz, that means a physical, material, psychological, and spiritual strength. If Yahuwah is my strength, he's my strength in every aspect of my being. Okay? In the phrase, Yahuwah is my strength, we can see that Yahuwah affects every aspect of our being, both physically and spiritually. It is in this that Yahuwah becomes our deliverance, if we allow him to be. Okay? We're not always willing and ready to allow Yahuwah to deliver us, because we can do all things through us who strengthen us. Okay? So consider the phrase, he has become my deliverance, which is Veyehi li lishua. In the word for and has, which is